everyone, it's Grumble. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Alongside my new Let's Play series and live streams, I wanted to bring you some of my Patreon gaming content as a video series. And because I'm all about Dishonored and Arcane Studios games, I figured I'd kick things off with a closer look at our favourite fuck-up, Daud, the Knife of Dunwall. In 2020, I wrote the first series of essays for my Patreon about Daud as an anti-hero, his characterization in the first game versus Death of the Outsider, as well as the other Mark characters' characterizations and Billy's status outside of the low-high chaos binary in Death of the Outsider. In this video, I'll be taking you through my thoughts on Daud as an anti-hero in the first Dishonored game and its DLC, Knife of Dunwall and Brigmore Witches. Let's get started! Disclaimer, I have captured all of the footage contained in this video myself, but the German console versions don't have the English localization, so some of the text will be in French. Just a quirk of owning the same game on 3 different platforms.
This better be worth it.
In the first game, Daud is an active antagonist insofar as he's the one who delivers you to your doom, by dint of killing Empress Jessamine in the prologue, setting up Corvo for his arrest, and of course, in the beginning, you're quite ready to hate him for it. However, as the game goes on, Daud becomes a passive antagonist in the sense that he largely stays out of the player's business after they escape Coldridge. He doesn't take any more contracts from Burroughs and instead expresses his contempt for his schemes that he so unwittingly helped along. He even dispatches whalers to keep an eye out for Corvo to keep track of where he's going and which targets he's hitting, and though they will attack Corvo if he's spotted near Bottle Street, there is a whaler watching the backyard of Holger Street during the first mission, and they vanish when Corvo emerges, likely to report back. He doesn't help Corvo, but he doesn't sabotage him either. He stays out of it, and he's not part of Burroughs' inner circle. In the end, he's little more than a mission objective, or rather his damned keys are. Corvo needs them for just about every chest and locker, but more importantly, to get out of Rudshore. But that can be done entirely without interacting with the man himself.
I have a job tonight.
What's the delay?
I am gate-bound, not river-bound.
And Daud holds the key to the tunnel and is asked not to be disturbed. Is that it?
Correct.
This prisoner we took, the bodyguard who was with the Empress, seems to trouble him gravely.
Yes. I feel that we've reached a turning point tonight.
If Corvo does fight him, he discovers more of Daud's character. After first taunting and goading him, the assassin actually asks for his life, but leaves it up to Corvo. And by this point in the game, Corvo kinda has bigger problems.
I suspect Corvo's busy.
When Corvo does end up on the whaler's doorstep, and not in the way Daud had imagined he would, he makes sure he does not die and then doesn't deliver him for the bounty, and instead makes it laughably easy for Corvo to escape. It's as good as leaving a note saying, "Come get me, bodyguard," along with those bricks. He knows he's coming to get him. I'd go so far as to say he wants him to.
I know your footsteps, Corvo.
While we're on the subject of heroes and villains, Corvo does terrible things to terrible people, including in low chaos. The only one who receives mercy, canonically, is Daud. Daud used to do terrible things to terrible people too. He just took coin for it. Daud isn't the villain, he's just a tool. And the only difference between him and Corvo, up until that point, is vengeance and a conventionally heroic disposition.
Time to see what you've really got, Delilah.
To get to the point, what is an anti-hero? Daud is a fundamentally amoral character, which makes him the perfect anti-hero. The undercurrent of all anti-heroes is the motive of self-interest. According to the simplest possible definition, an anti-hero is a main character who lacks conventional heroic qualities such as idealism, courage, and morality.
They've given the City Watch free rein to use force. If you ever wondered why I wanted out of the slums, here's your answer.
Now, how does Daud lack idealism? Maybe he once had it? he writes in his journal that there is nothing left of the young man who left Sukonos. That implies that, he once had hope, or even ideals. We don't fully know why he chased the Outsider's mark, nor why he became an assassin. We only know that by the events of the first game, he is disillusioned and cynical. He asks Corvo at the end of their duel whether he's truly accomplished anything, whether feeling powerful ever meant anything.
The Empress should have hired you to protect her. We'd be living in a different world now. The way you fight, the things you can do. You could change the Empire, if you set your mind to it. I wonder why you never did.
All the money exchanging hands from one rich bastard or another. Killing for one of them 1 year, then being paid to kill him in return the next. But what have I accomplished? More than you have, or much less.
Corvo, in that moment, has had the Outsider's mark for less than 6 months, and he's turned the fate of the Empire around single-handedly. So has Daud by stopping Delilah, but it's the first thing he feels he's done that has actually made a difference. And Corvo has no idea. Abigail Ames tells Daud in Knife of Dunwall that he too could change the course of the Empire if he only set his mind to it. Instead, he notes that he has killed hundreds of nobles only for the next to take their place. He takes money from the same people he despises to murder more people like them. He knows it's not justice, and if he ever had ideals, they've been washed away in the river.
So you've lost it all. Ruined at last. Lord Regent, Royal Spy Master, Hiram Burroughs. You small, worried man. You'll never know how many times I've thought about trying to get close to you again. Just to put a piece of sharp metal in your eye.
Now, as for courage, as an assassin, Daud fundamentally lacks courage. He may have lived a dangerous life and earned the scar to prove it, but courage is more than physical daring, cold-blooded killing, and knowing how to fight. He hid behind contracts to never voice his own beliefs or take a side. He simply killed for coin. He's also known to be ruthless, instructing his people not to waste sleep darts to non-lethally avoid collateral damage. And even as he cares about his whalers, shooing them away from the fight with Corvo to protect them, and taking in a young Billy Lurk when she was hunted across the city, he has absolutely no qualms leaving overseers to rot on the outskirts of the flooded district.
Blood flows. Life goes. Out with the old. In with the new. You've lived in these bones long enough.
I'll find you. I will not be beaten. First you fall. I will not.
Daud doesn't show courage until he goes up against Delilah. He cannot abide a mystery, and that is the first reason. His mother told him never to make an enemy of a witch, but by the time Daud pieces together that Delilah is a threat both to him and to Emily Caldwin, he's already in too deep to stop. And after Knife of Dunwall, after Billy's betrayal is revealed, it becomes about vengeance and preventing Delilah from bringing ruin to his house and the Empire, even knowing that Corvo's coming sooner or later.
Emily Caldwin. Delilah wants to use Emily to become Empress.
At Brigmore, he's arguably unsettled by her and what she's planning, but he pushes on, and in the end he describes what he did as saving Emily Caldwin from a living death. Reframed like that, the Overseer Surge and losing Billy become sacrifices for a cause he didn't understand until it was almost too late.
I've learned that our choices always matter. To someone. Somewhere. And sooner or later, in ways we can't always fathom, the consequences come back to us.
Daud knows that it was all punishment for what he'd done to Jessamine and before, and Corvo, not even knowing about Delilah, lets him live. Daud calls it mercy because he knows death was what he deserved, from Corvo if no one else.
So my life is in your hands. Make your choice.
Now, how does Daud act primarily out of self-interest? The definition says, anti-heroes may sometimes perform actions that are morally correct, but it is not always for the right reasons, often acting primarily out of self-interest or in ways that defy conventional ethical codes. In short, an anti-hero is someone who does good things for the wrong reasons. The outsider calls Daud's accomplishments in Knife of Dunwall and Brigmore Witches redemption. Daud doesn't. He doesn't set out to save Emily, he just wants to solve a mystery. You know the kind.
We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger down here.
He doesn't want a redemption arc, but what's remarkable is that the game does give the player every chance to do the work necessary for Daud to earn that redemption. Daud, in the first mission of Knife of Dunwall, helps detained workers at Rothwell's slaughterhouse escape, can refuse Ames' side mission of blowing up the factory and killing the butchers therein, and instead can only mildly electrocute Rothwell to get information out of him. And he can help the whale being tortured at the factory by euthanizing it, an act of mercy.
The power system in there looks like it will put down that whale in an instant. I almost think you should. I know they're just beasts, but still.
All of this sets Daud apart from the villains of the main game and sharpens his profile as an amoral character. He has principles and scruples. His ways of dealing with targets non-lethally are filled with poetic justice, the kind that Corvo would definitely approve of. Rothwell loses his slaughterhouse one way or the other because Daud happily ships him off to Samara. The overseers that invade the flooded district get taken for questioning and torture, an area in which they themselves excel, and Daud sends them mean letters until they die of starvation. Ow.
How's that for entertainment?
And last, but definitely not least, Mutinous first mate Edgar Wakefield loses his claim to the Undine, and Daud, even if he only chokes him out, lets Lizzie Stride do whatever she wants with him.
So you've lost it all. Ruined at last. Lord Regent, Royal Spy Master, Hiram Burroughs. You small, worried man. You'll never know how many times I've thought about trying to get close to you again. Just to put a piece of sharp metal in your eye. But now there's no need. You've been taken down by the same apparatus that gave you life to begin with. Laws and courtrooms and the mighty swell of public outrage. Good riddance to you, sir. So many schemes you had, and so many contracts. How many people did I kill for you? None like the last. None like her. I'd give back all the coin if I could. No one should have to kill an empress.
Wrapping up. Daud is a man who makes bad decisions. Frequently, he's wrong about everything, and he's not a good man if you want to talk about it in naturalistic terms like that. In terms of the narrative, he's more than bad or good, and he's more complex than mindless assassin for sure. This isn't to claim or to argue that he's misunderstood or to want him to be a hero. It's to see him as the amoral, questionable anti-hero that he was in the DLC. It's enjoying watching him realize that this time he has to make a choice for increasingly sleazy people on either side, and it's each time not even to make a difference. That's not what he's after. It's just about progressing in his quest. Each time that he cannot brute force a piece of the puzzle, he has to side with someone, and we all know how much he loves that. almost as much as he loves discovering that he does, in fact, have a conscience.
I know your footsteps, Corvo.
Coming up next on the channel, the second part of this first essay, discussing at length how Death of the Outsider missed the opportunity to continue this characterization and made redemption subtext text instead. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss a new one, as there is more Daud meta where this came from. You can also check out the essay series that these videos are based on at my Patreon at patreon.com/Anna Marabella, or on Ko-fi at kofi.com/grumble. There's different ways of supporting me on Ko-fi. You can become a member, or you can buy me a cocoa and leave a donation in my tip jar. I would very much appreciate your support. It helps me keep putting time into making these videos. Also, if you're into Let's Play series, there's a new series coming up next weekend. I'm going to play Neocab, a ludonarrative cyberpunk game, and I'll be doing all the voices. If you're interested, check out my pinned tweet for details. All my social links are in the description below. That's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely day.